All right, so like I said, I'll talk about this assignment here towards the end of class. Okay. Real quick from yesterday. I know I moved through a little fast, but when it comes to the two works of art yesterday, what did we talk about? So one was political, and then one was more of a like a how-to guide for some of these members of a court of a royal family. What were they called? What were they called? I mean, you read about the one, that political piece. What was it? Oh, it's your vocab terms, right? Luna?
The prince and the courtier.
Yes, good job. The prince and the courtier. Okay. So we're going to review that a little bit here first, okay, with the bell ringer, and then we're going to move on. I want to make sure really solidify that, especially when you think about politics today. A lot of people still use the word Machiavellian politician, which probably isn't a good term to be called, that's for sure. Anyway, when it comes down to it, this work is symbolic of the Renaissance and how this is going to transition then eventually to the age of absolutism. All right, and then the courtier, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. The proper Renaissance man, right? Anyway, we will talk about the Renaissance man today. All right, so I'll give you guys some time here to work on it. Okay. Explain a little bit about the works, right? Detail what you know about them. Use your reading from the other day to help you. Obviously, the lesson from yesterday, whatever notes you might have. All right, there you go. There you go. Ooh, bless you. Yeah, you fill out fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's get to it here. So the Prince, who wrote the Prince again? Elena, go ahead. Yeah, Machiavelli, good job. And what do we know about the Prince? What do we know? What do we know? Elena, go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, good job, right? So when it comes to the Prince, Machiavelli writes a little bit of how people can gain power and hold on to that power, right? This whole point is to try to be like somewhat of a how-to guide for leadership for a prince later becoming the king, right? And anyway, there's also kind of reference with what you guys read that he was trying to kind of seek out maybe a way into the royal family within Italy at the time, one of these city-states and how he could achieve that. So in a way, this was kind of like a job application, something of a way to try to appeal to the royal family and say, hey, I can assist you, right? I can help you when it comes to advice, right? In other words, like a king's hand, so to speak, right? Anyway, what does he talk about? What does he talk about within this work? What are some maybe lines in here, quotes that we talked about yesterday that really stuck out? Jason, go ahead.
It's better to be loved than, I mean, it's better to be feared than loved.
Yeah, good job, right? So it's better to be feared than loved. What does he mean by this, Jason?
Basically saying that it is better to have the people that you're moving to fear than to have them love you, because if they fear you, they're gonna follow your like leadership and stuff more easily than if they love you, because then they're just gonna try and push back.
Yeah, right. Good job. Good. So when it comes to being a leader, he talks a lot about how this fear is a way to control the population, making sure that no one would ever oppose you or try to lead a coup against your leadership, try to overthrow you, right? And this might be maybe an increase in military. This might be maybe the control of media, right? Propaganda, you name them. And with Machiavelli, he says, better be feared than loved. A lot of times, right, when it comes to leadership, if you're too favorable, maybe you might be seen as a pushover. Let's face it, right? People might try to maybe abuse or try to lean into breaking the rules a bit. It's like, you know what, he's fine. He's going to be still caring and loving and have strong feelings for me, no matter what. No. Machiavelli says, no, you got to lead with an iron fist, so to speak. Okay. He also talks a little bit about adaptability, that these strong leaders need to adapt. They need to try to change their policies sometimes in order to make sure that they can stay and hold on to power. So maybe if they are too strict or too hard on the people, they can adjust, right? They can maybe be a little bit lenient when it comes to certain rights or maybe social services, who knows, right? So in other words, the prince, the leadership has to be kind, they have to be smart, they have to be intelligent. And what was another line? This was another one I saw. The end justifies the means. What does that mean? Elena, go ahead. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, good point there. Good point. So no matter what, as long as you get and achieve this power, hold on to this power. It just doesn't matter how you get to that. So if you have to stab a few people in the back, right? If you have to cheat maybe your way to getting that leadership or that role with what you're trying to achieve, it just doesn't matter how you do it. So again, if you have to cheat, if you have to backstab, if you have to maybe abuse or use violence, do that in order to get that role. Is that always right to do? No, right? So a lot of people look at this and say, geez, that's not the great qualities of a strong leader. Right? And we'll talk about it through this age of absolutism. We'll talk about it too when we get to the rise of dictators later down the line. A lot of leaders take this route. And yeah, are they strong leaders? Sure, I guess, but it's at the expense of the population. Does that make sense, guys? All right, so with Machiavelli, a lot of times too today, when people refer to politicians or people within government, they might relate them to a Machiavellian politician or a Machiavellian leader. A lot of times they'll present a policy that people would latch on to, say, hey, that's a great idea, sure. And then they vote that elected official in, let's say, and then all of a sudden they do the exact opposite, or they don't follow through. right? So what did they do? Just lie straight to your face and just did whatever they wanted to do instead. So in other words, Machiavellian politicians, government leaders are still around today, unfortunately. But this at the time was this how-to guide for the leadership of the royal family. All right, good. I think we're good with that. Any other things that we can talk about with the prince? Okay, again, make sure you guys know this is a political piece, a way to hold on and, power, gain power. And it doesn't matter how you do so. All right, good. What about the courtier? What do we got here? What do we got here? Austin, thank you.
How, says how men should act and how they should be. Like the.
During the Renaissance, right? Yeah, good job, right? So this new era, this new time period of innovation, sophistication, right? Of art, of entertainment, right? The courtier is like a how-to guide for this court, right? People that belong to, let's say, a royal family, but maybe of this higher status. It's like, hey, you gotta dress a certain way now, right? You gotta look elegant. You gotta look presentable. Okay, you can't just walk around in these, I don't know, like a slob or kind of look disgusting. No. You gotta look elegant. You gotta look like you are, fitting whatever rule that you're trying to achieve. What else about the courtier stuck out here? What else did we talk about? Yeah, dress is definitely something. What else? What else? Oh man, come on now. Elaine, thank you. Yeah, good job, right? Well-rounded. Okay, they gotta be intelligent, they gotta be smart, they gotta be funny, right? Charismatic, right? That's a big part of it. Okay. Maddie, athletic, good job, right? So when it comes to sports, they have to be nimble on their feet, so to speak. They got to be understanding of the new games at the time. I guess at the time it was like sword fighting, wrestling. Yeah, wrestling's still around today. Maybe we'll get some wrestling. Yeah, that'd be great. Horse riding, sure. Okay. So yeah, when it comes to athleticism, again, you gotta be nimble on your feet, you gotta be good at these different types of skills and talents. Kate,
Dancing and singing.
dancing, singing, yeah, right, they have to have a sense of, understanding of the new trends when it comes to music, right? They gotta be able to entertain people once they have a party. Good. Jason?
Do all that, not be a crime.
Ooh, yeah, say that again.
Do all of the stuff that, everybody says, but be a crime.
Yeah, good. There's a term for it, which I was gonna put as a term, but I was like, you know what? It's really hard to pronounce, so I'll just move past it. But yeah, don't be a tryhard. Yeah, don't be a tryhard. Right? So when it comes down to it, no one likes a tryhard. No one likes this person that just goes overboard when it comes to maybe practicing a skill or talent that they're that good at it. Now, you just gotta show up to the event and just be good at it, right? Obviously, practice makes perfect. I'm not telling you that, hey, if you play a sport or you're in the band or anything, chorus, you don't practice. No, I'm not saying that at all. But during this time period, that's what they're saying. Right? Don't be a tryhard. All right, anyway, so the courtier, this is a good example here of a how-to guide, how people need to act, especially of a higher status during the Renaissance time period. Okay, we're moving towards a modern period. And this will be embraced in a lot of these European kingdoms. All right, is there any questions here, guys? We good? Yeah? All right, so good stuff here. So anyway, with the prince, political piece, kind of like a how-to guide in a way, but holding on to power. The courtier is more of a how-to guide of how to fit in during this new time period. And today we're going to talk more about these works of art here. So here are your terms for today. Here are your terms. All right, so we got Da Vinci. Okay, the Mona Lisa, you should already know. Last Supper, I'm sure you've seen it before. And then Michelangelo here at the bottom. All right, so we're going to talk about these two artists today, a lot of their famous works. And then, like I said, towards the end of the period, I'd like you to work on the assignment where you'll have to find something. Right, I'm hoping we don't get all the same pieces of work, the art pieces. Maybe with Da Vinci, you can find something different when it comes to his brilliance, his intelligence. And well, the courtier, like I said, that's driving the proper Renaissance man, right? You guys find out here, Da Vinci is that Renaissance man. So when you think of this time period, a lot of people do think of Leonardo da Vinci. All right. So if you want to write that down by Da Vinci's name, the Renaissance man, do that. That'd be great, right? Because that's what he's known as. All right, Michelangelo, we heard a little bit about him already with the Medici family video, right? We watched that video yesterday and talked about his ability, right? Him living with the Medici family, his inspiration, and how they were patrons for Michelangelo. and his beautiful works of art. All right, there you go. So I'll give you guys some time here. All right. So with these terms here today, guys, we're going to go over obviously these two artists, these famous artists of the time. And no, I'm not talking about these Ninja Turtles. Oh, Ninja Turtles. Who likes the Ninja Turtles? Really, no one? What? Okay, yeah, finally, give it up here. Yeah, we love them. All right, we love them. Sure. All right. Anyway, so when it comes to the artists of the Renaissance period, we're going to talk about a few works of art and a little bit maybe more that you never knew of, especially with Da Vinci. There's a lot to him. Again, known as a Renaissance man, and combining the themes of science at the time, right? And combining with these kind of blueprints and these ideas of engineering, which were way ahead of his time, which is pretty cool. All right, so anyway, the court here is describing the proper Renaissance man, right? And how a person of this time period, of this new era within Europe, needs to act, behave, right? How they have to be well-rounded, right? They have to be favored, loved, right? They have to have charisma. All right, moving on here. I know I talked about it quite a bit, but I really want to make sure that you guys got it, right? This transition here to this new time period in the Renaissance, humanism is embraced, right? Humanism is this term, right? of education of this new philosophy, this idea that we need to focus on the human, right? The here, the now, rather than just basing everything off of Christianity, basing everything off of religion, right? People need to focus here on human aspects, human experience, right? Whatever you visualize, whatever you observe, you got to write it down. You got to jot it down. You have to have your own theories, your own mindsets based off of what you see, what you experience, right? Again, not every answer is going to be because God said so, right? And that's where we see this transition from the Middle Ages, right, with scholasticism to humanism of the Renaissance period. So yeah, this is the start, right? We'll talk about the scientific revolution. We'll talk about the Age of Enlightenment here soon and how this all begins here with humanism. Anyway, the father of humanism is Petrarch, right? This guy, right? What's he wearing? What the heck? Eli, would you wear something like that? I don't even know what it is. Okay, anyway, so you can see it's kind of strange, but in any case, for Petrarch, he is the father of humanism. He's bringing on this new age of how people should learn, how people should have conversations, discuss with one another, debate even, right? About what they witness, what they see. Anyway, where does it come from? Well, it's that emphasis, you got it, from ancient Rome, right? From ancient Greece, okay? But again, at the same time, you'll see it, right? These themes of religion aren't going away, right? So a lot of these artists, even the Medici family, right, still embrace religion. So I know we're kind of breaking away from it when it comes to our thoughts, right? Our experience here with humanism, right? When we try to really understand the world around us and to explain events that are happening, right? But at the same time, right, you'll see a lot of these things, especially in the artwork of the Renaissance, focused around religion, right? That is not going away. All right, you guys good with that? I know I had this slide up before, but I really wanted to talk about it today before we move on. All right, so new techniques of art. So again, like I said, religious topics, that will be a main focal point. Again, it's not going away. So when you have the clergy, the Pope, right, the Catholic Church still reigns supreme. All these kingdoms all throughout Europe will still abide by the rule of the Pope. Okay. So yeah, that started around the Middle Ages. Okay, when you think about the Crusades, the Holy Wars, right now all of a sudden, okay, and humanism does come around, but they still embrace these themes of religion, right? Realism, okay, so when it comes to realism, you'll see a lot of this artwork, especially these beautiful works of sculptures, okay, of paintings, literally come to life, right? During the Middle Ages, the artwork I showed you, yeah, the architecture, Gothic and Romanesque was beautiful, right? It was. Okay, but at the same time, when it comes to paintings, drawings, well, it was more like a 2D surface. Looks like something that you would have slapped together in art class within a period, right? But here, now all of a sudden, we're starting to see more of these 3D objects, right? You can see these pictures, these paintings come to life. And you can see this more of a linear aspect that gives this more of a 3D topic, right? So we'll look at the Last Supper here soon by Da Vinci and see how that was just this beautiful work of art that no one's ever seen before. And it was so magnificent. And with the Mona Lisa too, that's a good example. All right, so shading and reflection of light. Obviously, that's going to give this shading in the background. That makes the image, again, pop out, right? That makes it pop out to you. And again, with these works of art that were created back in the 1500s, 1400s, 1600s, still today, people go around and see them, right? It's literally a pillar, staple of Western civilization. And we'll talk about some of these protesters trying to destroy them, unbelievable in recent news. But anyway, you can see here, guys, with this linear perspective, right? When it comes to shading, right? When it comes to the backgrounds, you can see like you're actually looking into the image, right? I know that's what you guys learned in art class today, but at the time, this was something new. This was groundbreaking. No one ever visualized or painted anything like this before. And this is giving an essence, right? This is giving a new focus, a new focal point of art and how we visualize it, how we see it, how we understand it. And yeah, right, when it comes to the artwork that you guys will analyze, and we'll talk about it even, a lot of that stuff here, there's so many meetings and so many perspectives that it will take days to really cover. So I'm going to kind of give a broad overview of it and move on. All right, so that being said, let's move on to these Renaissance artists. All right, so I'm sure you know Da Vinci, right? Leonardo, okay? I've had some people in the past say, Da Vinci? What? No, not that. So when it comes to Da Vinci, right, he is known as the Renaissance man, right? So when it comes to the courtier, right, when it comes to that work, he embodies all of it, right? He has the intelligence, he has the wit, right? He has the charisma, but also he's looking at sciences, he's looking at different types of architecture, right? He's looking at different means of engineering that just didn't fit back then. It's like this guy's from the future and looking ahead of time and applying it back in the 1500s. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, we'll talk about his famous works like the Mona Lisa, right? Is she smiling? Is she frowning? What is going on here? Is this more of a dark image or is this, I don't know, something of beauty, of elegance? I don't know. There's so many perspectives of it. And when people look at it, like I said, still today, they have just an amazement, right? They have no idea exactly what his direction was with this. Again, a lot of it comes to the smile. Is she smiling? I don't know. Right? It looks like she's frowning. It looks like she's content. I'm not sure. But you can see the background too. Right? A lot of people do focus on this background of this beautiful work of art, and they try to depict exactly where the setting is. What is she doing? What is going on here? And it just seems like a mood of relaxation too, the way she's standing. All right. So the Mona Lisa. You guys know where the Mona Lisa is? Is it in Italy? Is it? Jason?
Paris.
Yeah, good. It's in France, right? So yeah, good, good. So that's one of the biggest issues today. So if you talk to Julia, right, she's from Italy, right? Foreign exchange student we have, and we had one last year, Giacomo. He showed a little. He was displeased about it. He's like, oh, I can't believe Da Vinci, right? He is this Italian artist, and they hope that they house the works, a lot of his works, a lot of the Renaissance artists worked in France and other locations. It's like, why? Why does this happen? Well, in wars, there you go, right? Especially when it comes to World War II, a lot of this artwork kind of got scrambled across all these places for protection. So it won't be destroyed because this artwork literally is the foundations of Western civilization. I know it sounds crazy. You look at the painting, you're like, what? Really? Is this the foundations? Yeah, actually it is. All right, so Last Supper 2, okay. So Last Supper is a beautiful piece. I'm sure you guys seen before. And that embodies that linear perspective like we were talking about. The 3D images, the shading. And this is where, you got it, Jesus breaks the news. Like, hey, one of you guys are going to plot for my death, right? One of you guys here that I'm eating at this table with is trying to kill me. And we all know that's Judas, right? So he kind of sells him out for some silver, some money, and well, this is where this news is broken. And this is obviously going to lead to the crucifixion. Anyway, you can see the themes of religion, right? You can see the themes of religion. That's just not going away, Christianity, right? So with these artists, yeah, they embody this version of Christianity. Some people say with the Mona Lisa, it's like the female version of Jesus. I don't know. I don't know what his themes were with his ideas. Maybe you guys can find different perspectives on it too. All right, obviously the Vitruvian Man, I'm sure you guys seen that before too. When it comes to the anatomy of the body, right? When it comes to drawing out limbs, hands, feet, toes, you name it, that's very difficult to do, but Da Vinci does it with ease. And this was just a sketch, right? He was just sketching out the means of the anatomy of the body and how sciences work with, at the time. So again, beautiful, and it's just kind of a sketch that he did real quick, it seems. Anatomy of the body, again, it's not at the time. It was illegal actually to cut open the body. We'll talk a little bit about that later when we get to the scientific revolution. But knowing where the organs are, right? Knowing where these pivotal points and these organs, like I said, in the body, it was almost impossible to know exactly these areas, these pivot points. But he kind of hit it nail on the head, right? So we'll talk about the advancements in the anatomy here soon. All right, so again, the Last Supper. So here's a good example of the artwork, this linear perspective, this 3D imaging, making a picture pop. And this is how maybe it was performed or looked at during the Middle Ages. So yeah, you can definitely tell which one is more advanced. Sure, this one looks cool, right? During the Middle Ages, medieval times, the Last Supper. But this one definitely looks a lot more sophisticated, a lot better. All right, so when it comes to Da Vinci, yeah, he's the famous artist, sure. But also, he was advanced when it came to architecture. When it came to forms of weaponry, right? And advancements that, again, just seem like in the future. So here's his first look, right? The first look of a tank, literally a tank, right? We won't see that until World War I. So about 400, 500 years later. But he's literally drawing it down, seeing exactly how this would work on the battlefield, right? You can see all the different types of angles where you can have maybe, blasting and cannon fire, firing from this different type of tank. Looks pretty cool. And you can see it kind of looks like a UFO. So if anything was fired upon it, it would ricochet off of it. So pretty neat, right? Again, advanced for the time. This massive crossbow, okay, that looks just ridiculous, unbelievable. But yeah, obviously pretty advanced for the time. right? This kind of machine gun, maybe, right? It worked as a crank, but this was a way to fire off multiple weapons at once. And the first automatic weapon, maybe. Anyway, these are just the sketches of it. He also created this robotic knight, right, that moved on levers and pulleys. It was almost looking like a puppet, but it actually stood up at one of these parties he was at, and it just amazed everybody. They looked at it and said, "How did this happen?" And he said, "Magic. But more engineering." And engineering is magic, if you think about it, right? So when you think about physics, you think about engineering, it is literally magic coming to life. That makes sense to people. So this was a pretty cool story. If you guys get a chance, maybe look into that a little bit more. And yeah, he was fascinated with flight. Okay, so obviously bats, birds are his inspiration of flight. Obviously, he never actually used this off the building or anything like that, but you can see how it was pretty darn close to what we see with the first flight eventually with the Wright brothers later in the 1900s. So again, he was way ahead of the time. The first diving suit, right? So when it comes to scuba diver, right? He created that even too, right? And that kind of worked, which again just shows his advancement. Right, here's the piece that a lot of people have forgotten about. Had no idea that maybe he created, but you can see the themes that looks a lot like the Mona Lisa, right? But a lot of people say that this was Jesus, or his depiction of Jesus, which is a beautiful work of art and kind of his twist to it. So he was like looking at himself in the mirror and trying to visualize himself as Jesus, which is pretty cool to see. But this is called the Salad Tour Monday, sold for $450 million just recently, actually, because this was like the lost Da Vinci, they called it. And it was a unique story. So if you guys get a chance, maybe look into that, the Salvador Monday. Some people say it's fake. Maybe he actually didn't create this. Maybe it was something that was created that some artist that mimicked his art style, maybe. But obviously none of these artists have a distinct style that no one can really copy. So maybe he did create it. Anyway, someone definitely spent a lot of money on it, right? Okay. Michelangelo. Okay, so he wanted to be known as a sculptor. Right, but he's more famous for his work in the Sistine Chapel, right? So when we think about the Sistine Chapel, okay, this beautiful work, biblical stories that literally come to life. One of the focus points of the film is, you got it, right? Adam and God touching fingers, not they don't, right? It's close, and then that crack that kind of goes in between it. But everybody knows for the Sistine Chapel, but he is famed for his beautiful works as a sculptor. Anyway, this is the Pieta, right? So this is Mary holding Jesus right after the crucifixion. And this embodies a lot of perspectives, a lot of different views, and a lot of symbolic meanings behind it. So this beautiful work of art obviously is a tragedy in a way, right? You think about the image itself. It's Mary, right? Mother of Jesus, holding Jesus in her arms, and realizing obviously that this is the death of him. And again, it's just this tragedy that we visualize and see that we can't just really understand. It's like, oh man, this is so sad, but just such a beautiful work. It's unbelievable. Anyway, they depicted Mary pretty strong, right? She got shoulders like a linebacker, let's face it. Jeez. Anyway, so she's holding up Jesus. And a lot of people think of the themes of how he tried to work in anatomy, the sciences, right? When it comes to this work, it's like, hey, you know what? If she's holding Jesus in her hands, right, she's got to be pretty big. So it's one of those things where it kind of wove in the ideas of sciences when it came to the sculpture. Anyway, he created this, guess what, when he was 23 years old. 23. Man, I was like just getting out of college, and there's no way I could sculpt something like this, obviously. When you guys are 23, if you know anybody, maybe brothers, sisters, cousins, right? When it comes to their age, it's like, hey, could they create that at 23 years old? Probably not. Anyway, how could he do that? Well, you got the Medici family, right? We mentioned about the Medici family. They housed Michelangelo for a long, long time. Anyway, real quick, I'm going to stop here just because I want to talk about the assignment here before we leave off. All I want you guys to do, okay, we're going to talk more about his works, the Sistine Chapel here soon, but real quick with the assignment, what you're going to see here is Renaissance art, Leonardo, Michelangelo. Okay, here's the description, right? What I want you to do for you guys, honors, yes, honors, and make sure you guys turn this in on time. Hey, guys, follow the guidelines here. And here's an example I have. You can't use the Last Supper. I used it, right? This is my example. All right. So Last Supper, boom. That's all I'm looking for. Time period. Obviously, got a title, what art it is, the significance. Why is it so significant, this work of art? It could be a little bit more detailed than what I put together here. right? It shouldn't just be one or two words, okay? Have a little bit more of like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 sentences, that'd be great. Location, where is it located today? Maybe some of it, I don't know, might be lost, no, probably not though. Anyway, where's it located? Interesting fact, right? How they created this one part. Maybe what they use, what type of materials, resources. That's what I'm looking for. Guys, have this done for tomorrow. Again, work of art from Michelangelo and Da Vinci.